We get asked questions all the time at Olivia's house, from curiosity about the bereavement process to wondering who Olivia is. We pride ourselves in educating the community. So in that vein, we are so excited to announce our newest season of Weekly Wisdom. In the following weeks, Olivia's house will be opening up the floor to you, our community, to ask questions of the staff at Olivia's house. This time, we will be the wisdom givers. No question is too big or small. Like, what do the letters in Casey's name stand for? Let's see what questions we're answering this week. We received a great question on last week's video about the collective loss we are all experiencing right now with the pandemic. I've been doing a lot of research on grief and anxiety because these two things are very connected. Our brains are amazing organs that naturally serve to protect us from danger. Think about it like this. When our ancestors, the cave people, would see a threat, like a bear, their brains, just like ours, are wired to surge the body with energy in order to fight or flee from that threat, the bear. When you feel like you have a constant rush of adrenaline, we call this hypervigilance, and it means your brain has recognized that something is threatening you, and your body needs the energy to escape or fight. Right now, we are constantly faced with uncertainty. Uncertainty feels dangerous because our brains are wired to follow a pattern that they're familiar with. Well, we've all had to develop new patterns, and our brains are trying to catch up. We've said it before, and I'll say it again. We do not like to be out of control. It freaks our brains out when we don't have a specific template or timeline to follow, and that's something we are all lacking right now. Rather than an animal chasing us down, the threat we are dealing with is the new normal we must get used to. And we are social beings. We're used to facing the world head on with our crew of support behind us, so social distancing stipulations can challenge us even further. So how do you cope? For me, it's a constant reminder that our minds and bodies are connected, and one can't be well when the other isn't. If your body is tense, it sends a message to your brain that a threat is nearby. If you find that it's hard to quiet those thoughts, do your brain a favor and make sure your body is relaxed. Meditation and mindfulness have been my best friends over these past few months, and I encourage everyone to take care of their full selves. Leslie, what do you think?
Well, thanks, Julia. That information was really helpful. It's so interesting when you think about how the brain works with us as we try to process our losses. I have to tell you, I've been working through a lot of losses during the quarantine, and one of the ways that I have kind of addressed this tough hypervigilance that often accompanies our bereavement process is to try something new, to kind of get a distraction going, to take my mind off what it is I am upset about. And so for me, I'm here in my husband's workshop because I began a new hobby in my free time. My hobby is watercolor painting. I love it. I absolutely love it. I started a couple weeks ago, and actually it's very relaxing. So, when you think about how can I handle all the energy of hypervigilance, or how can I handle my anxiety, finding a hobby that calms you down is a wonderful way to go about it. So I challenge everybody to find a new hobby. If you haven't read a book ever cover to cover, try that. If you haven't ever watercolored, you might try that. It's really fun. So something else somebody probably hasn't tried is sending a question to Olivia's House's Facebook page for our show. I challenge you to do that too. All in all, take good care of yourself.
Thanks, Leslie. That's great advice for developing a new coping skill during social isolation. In tackling this great question, our staff realized the answer was a little bigger than what we could cover in just one video. We wanted you to understand how your brain reacts to environmental changes, like social distancing, so that next week we can discuss the similarities and differences between what we are experiencing now and how that compares to the process we go through when we lose a loved one. Thanks for the great question, Gary, and be sure to join us next week for part 2 of the answer. We'll see you then.